But who started their company from scratch in here? Yeah. Hard, man. So you got to respect that. Like, you might be in here and sometimes we feel like we see people that are beyond us. We see people that, you know, are on that next level. And we forget to give ourselves credit for how far we've come and the stuff we had to overcome. Because starting's the hardest part. Just having the guts to do it, that alone shows you've got what it takes. Then having the guts to stick with it when it gets tough, it's a big deal. We got to remember, when we talk about the next level, it's really, and it's I have to remind myself sometimes, because it's not always like you're here and you're here, right? There's always the next level, the next level, the next level, the next level. And I reminded you guys on day one, like, when you come down here, you can only see so far, right? So what you think is possible, you're like, I can't even see beyond that. And then you get to the next level, you're like, oh, okay. What was down there now becomes easy. It becomes the norm. This becomes a little bit challenging, but you could see further. I got it. You step up again, that's all just basic stuff. You do it easily now. You could see even further. And it's the same thing, on and on and on and on and on. And we're all welcome at any point to go, you know what, I'm kind of tired of going to the next level. That's okay. Stuart said it too, like, you've got to do you. You got to do things your way, right? Take what you learn here this 3 days, transition that, make it your way, right? Take the scripts, take the rebuttals, take the marketing, do it your way, but honor the little nuances that make the big difference. And don't forget those, right? I drilled it down into the systems, to the stuff that's required. Make sure that we're doing that, because that's the stuff that's going to matter, right? So when you start off in this business, you're starting. You're just getting started. You know, this is me in the truck rental yard trying to figure it out. You know, not even knowing how to fold a pad, not even knowing how to estimate a move, a claim. I don't even know what to do with that. Right? Storage people, I'm like, oh, yeah, we do storage. Put them in a self-storage unit until I got my first warehouse. Just having no clue, winging it. But don't we all have to start there? Right? Maybe some of you took over the company, it was passed down, or you bought the company existing. But who started their company from scratch in here? Yeah. It's fucking hard, man. So you got to respect that. Like, you might be in here and sometimes we feel like we see people that are beyond us. We see people that, you know, are on that next level. And we forget to give ourselves credit for how far we've come and the stuff we had to overcome. Because starting's the hardest part. Just having the guts to do it, that alone shows you've got what it takes. Then having the guts to stick with it when it gets tough, it's a big deal. I'm saying this because you just got to take a minute sometimes and look at how far you've come. Because when we challenge ourselves, when we push ourselves, when we try to live at a higher level, and there's always something you're shooting for, remember, that creates a little bit of tension. We need to make sure that that tension doesn't become stress. It doesn't become overwhelm. It doesn't become anxiety. And just recognize that, hey, we're going for it. And when you go for it, there's some resistance. It's a little challenging. Can we all accept it's a little challenging? Right? And then from there, you start stabilizing, right? Starting, you just feel like you're like somebody just like spun you around and then sent you on your way. You're a little off balance. So you've got to stabilize now. And that's typically what most people, that's what I was doing when I started to figure things out. I didn't have my little black book in my pocket going, let me systematize this. It was like, no, I just need a better way. I just got to stabilize it because it feels like I'm on this friggin' roller coaster. Who's ever felt like you're on a roller coaster in your business? Yeah. So stabilizing, just trying to make sense of stuff, right? And typically that's what we all do just out of a natural instinct of trying to just find a better way, right? There's got to be a better way. So we start stabilizing. And that's where typically most people, and I could say this now with confidence after doing this so long and coming across so many businesses and talking to so many people, that's where most people usually stop. But stabilizing, you ever stood on like a balance ball or something like that? Or anything, you're trying to keep your balance? And if you try to do that like forever, no wonder you're fucking exhausted, right? It's a balancing act all the time, and you never really catch that stable ground. So we get to that place of having a stable ground. Who's there? Who's stabilizing right now? Yeah, that's okay. That's our natural tendency of trying to, move past that starting point. Then we got to go to systematizing. This is when we say, oh, okay, the business is an operating system. It isn't this thing that I have to figure out, right? As entrepreneurs, I would have to make an assumption that you guys all have a very cleverness about you, right? You have an ability to like figure things out. It's very clever, right? Like I feel very clever when I figure things out. You guys are clever too. But this goes beyond that. This is like, okay, well, now I figured out that I don't have to exercise my cleverness every day to figure out how to fix this and fix that over and over and over. It's a system. Let me make it easy on myself. I don't need to waste my mental bandwidth being clever. Let me get the system in place. Let me build that, right? And that's one of those things that, the cleverness, figuring this out and figuring this out, it hits that dopamine, like, ooh, nice, feels good to the body. Systematizing, that's the challenge. That's the stuff you heard people here on the laser coaching last night that, struggling to get that stuff done. How do I make time? What do I do? Why aren't they doing it right? Because that's proactive, and you get no immediate reward, right? You've got to block the time on the calendar. You've got to put in the work. You've got to document stuff. And all while you're sitting there trying to focus, your mind's telling you about everything else that you got to be working on. And it starts to feel like this is a waste of time. This is silly. Why am I doing this? When this is going on, that's going on. I should be here. I should be there. And I'm sharing that with you because even if maybe you haven't felt that when you start, because anytime you start something great, you're met with resistance. All change is met with resistance. And if we recognize it for what it is, we can go, oh, like I hope that sticks because I know many of you will go back and I'm going to build these processes, I'm going to build these systems, and you're going to meet that resistance. When it pops up, just recognize it for what it is and just stay in that block. Stay in that progress block and just keep pushing forward. Keep pushing forward. So now you systematize the business. Everybody in here, the thing is, even if you're just starting, you don't even have to go to level 2. So the people that are in here starting, that might feel like, I'm just getting started, you get to skip right over 2 and go to 3, right? There's no reason to go to 2 other than we just naturally go there because that's just what we do. And that's what I did when I didn't know systematizing or processes or SOPs or any of that stuff. Who knows right now they need to spend time systematizing their business? That becomes a business. That becomes, like Stuart said, something of value. Who wants to sell their company one day? Okay, or franchise and then sell the franchise one day, right? You've got to, people want to buy a system. Somebody will come in and they'll buy your company. They'll take it off your hands, right? Somebody that's like buying themselves a job or maybe a competitor or whatever it might be. But you're not going to get paid anything close to top dollar. But if somebody can come in, you heard about Stuart talking about how the market, right? The market's not making money. All top financial people I talk to are saying right now, cash is king. Have the money to seize the opportunities when they come. And so, when you look at investors, people that want to buy a business, they're looking for return, right? You don't want the buyer that's, necessarily the person next to you that's just like, hey, wants to come into your market or do whatever. They could do it on their own. You want the person that's just looking at it like a transaction. Oh, there's a system. That system produces what 2 results? High profits. Don't forget that one. We have to do a recap at day 1? Right? We need to produce consistent results. Raving fans, high profits. So when you have a system and you could show a buyer that, most people what they'll do, right? And this was me too early on. It's like, no, you don't understand. I'm there. My team's there. We got this. We're going to run it. I'll even stay on for a year, da-da-da-da-da. A sophisticated buyer, and why do you want a sophisticated buyer? Because they're going to pay you more, right? They just want to know it's turnkey. They don't want to hear about your great operations manager. That might be nice. They want to know, do you have a process that if I don't like him or her and I want to let them go, that I could just put somebody in that seat and the system still runs? That's what they want to know. The system is where the value is. And regardless, not a lot of people raise their hands when I said, who wants to sell your company? But life circumstances change. And life circumstances, it doesn't even have to be anything dramatic. Stuart was up here saying, what happens if something happens to you? What happens if you just wake up one day and you're like, fuck this, I'm done? Or you have another opportunity. When you open up to life, opportunities start presenting themselves, and you might just say, this stage of my life is over, and I want to move on to something different. Wouldn't it be nice to be in a position to be able to sell? Or to be able to, like Tammy, move to Italy and let your company run without you? For how long now? Over a year? For over a year? Can you even imagine that? Good. That's the attitude right there. So it's the system. Sometimes when we say words too much, we go numb to it, right? Sometimes your employees, they go numb to what you're saying because they just hear it from you, they hear it from you, they hear it from you. It's why a lot of you it's smart to let them listen to the course, listen to my courses, let that stuff train them because, another voice, right? Or as parents, sometimes the kids just start blocking you out. You bring somebody else in and have a talk with them, and then they listen. So I want to make sure that you're not numbing me out with this systems thing, because it really is everything, right? You got that, your ability to lead, which is so much easier to do when you have a system.
Hey, my friend, before you go, you've got to hurry and watch these next few videos over here. They will absolutely help you take your moving company to the next level. Go watch them now, and I'll see you over there.